Harvest mixed bag. Prominent families that have occupied high political offices since independence, including the Mois, Odingas, and Kihikas, and the Kajwang, Sunkuli, and Metangula brothers, record mixed fortunes in the August 9th polls. That is on page 6. School calendar at risk as Magoha extends closure. Dennis, this
for many parents is very, troubling, because if you look at the school calendar and how it was affected when COVID, hit the entire world, so many children are affected, parents were affected, those who were learning were affected, and now this was in 2020. Now this is 2022. We have an election. So the back-to-back interruptions are really, really affecting the school calendars. I had a conversation with a teacher yesterday because I personally got a message of taking my child to school on the date that Mago had announced, again to get another message that, okay, now we're extending. Psychologically, for the parents, for the students, even for the teachers, there's that level of uncertainty. Okay, so when are we opening the schools? And then looking at the schedules and the timetable and the curriculums they have to cover before they can then end the term. Everything is disrupted. So what it then means, they have to really rush to keep up because we're already dealing with a backlog, So it's really a big issue for very many parents. In terms of even planning, when do you then take your child who's traveling from, from Mombasa, for example, to Kakamega? Those travel arrangements, for many parents, it's not as easy as it sounds. They need to make prior arrangements, and there are those who will argue, you should know how to prepare better,
But shouldn't the Ministry of Education have known that the Constitution gives Chebukati 7 days to declare the results and therefore made the necessary adjustments, as opposed to now telling us the 11th, and then you come back again and tell us the 15th, then you come back and tell us the 18th. I mean, shouldn't you just have blocked out that entire 7 days and then now given parents a day or two to make arrangements to take the children back to school, and then...
I think, Prof, you're the governance expert. Just looking at the agencies and the institutions that were coming together, thinking of an election, it's not just involving IEBC.
Right.
The security stakeholders have to be involved. The ODPP office has to be involved. And all these institutions within government. How is it supposed to work normally? Because from the changing of dates, like what Olive is saying, sends a very confusing message and conflicting message that there is no synergy, there is no single source of information coming from, one center,
Right. And I think this is actually quite disappointing, especially given this election, because for this election, the government that is in place is actually leaving. The president and his executive are leaving, which means that they're not bogged down, okay, in theory, they're not bogged down with the competition, with the parties competing. So you expect the country to be really, well managed, at this particular period, well managed, because the guys who are running government are not necessarily, the two competing parties. And then, of course, as you say, there are very many agencies that work during this period, and of course, we still expect all the ministers are working during this period until the handing over, until a new president has been elected, and then a new executive actually comes and takes over. And this is the same even with the counties. Mombasa and Kakamega will proceed until those governors hand over. And as you say, it seems like there's a bit of a there's a break in the system, in this sense that again we know that it takes 1 week. There's that 1 week from the time we vote to the time that elections declared. And it's just 1 week. After that, there's the possibilities of court processes. And again, the Constitution has clearly envisaged those and given deadlines for those particular processes and so on. What you'd expect is that the government that is in place has already organized and planned for these things, all the way till the assumption. But sometimes you almost have a sense that there's a bit of, that people will somehow believe that IBC should be running the country during this electoral period. IBC is doing what they're doing, counting votes, but we expect all the different government agencies to work together. So Magoha definitely is a letdown on this, and it tells you how things are done within government. you know, we should be operating on the basis of the law. And as Olive says it, you know, how do you ask students to go to school on Monday while you know the law allows IBC, you know, to do the tallying until Tuesday? Unless the Ministry of Education does not think that that tallying affects, you know, the running of schools. And it actually does affect the running of schools. Yes, so in fact, what they would have done would have been to send the message that they sent as now, initially, to say it's Thursday, because yes, I mean, the announcement will be done by Tuesday, as per the law, not necessarily how things, you don't look at boomers and then make decisions on how to run government. Yeah, so all these processes, I mean, we saw, for example, in internal security, you know, starting to deploy security in different parts of the country. Yeah, because these guys have information, they know what's happening. They should be able to predict, you know, where we're likely to have rough issues and so on. And all these agencies are meant to be working together, complete with IBC. Yeah, and of course, communicating with the public and so on. You know, at some point, somebody's saying, oh, so what happened during this time? I say, what do you mean? Everything that's happening now is not just envisaged. It is in the Constitution and in plethora of acts of Parliament. So we know, we have all the information. Yeah, so again, for me, things like those erratic opening dates of the schools, as far as I'm concerned, is inexcusable. In fact, I'm restraining myself to say that they're incompetent, but they're unexcusable. I think there's a better word.
Or a breakdown of communication.
No, it's not a breakdown of communication.
The communication reached.
Jeff is about to use a very, very serious word. So